Namaskar. In continuation with my earlier talk on involvement of tea tribes in the process of Assamese nation building, today I would like to talk about a forgotten incident occurred during the days of India's independence. During British rule, tea garden workers were almost like bonded laborers. They could not go outside of their respective tea gardens without the permission of the authority. They were almost like the colored workers in South America before emancipation of slavery. In Assam, some indigenous persons fought against such discrimination. For doing that, those persons had to suffer a lot in the hands of British as well as the then Congress government in the independent India. Some of the Congress volunteers who were the pioneers of 1942's movement against British were also the pioneers of the fight for the rights of the tea garden people. Madan Sharma was one such revolutionary person who came from Rajputna and stood with the people of tea garden for their rights. He was associated with the strike of Tiniali tea garden, located some 14 kilometers away from Naharkatia in Dibrugarh district. Nibaran Bora, who was then a young Congress leader, led the movement in 1947. The reasons behind the agitation were: number one, the tea garden authority fixed the target of stipulated land for worker as 40 nol, which was earlier only 30 nol. Nol is a measurement of land. 1 nol is equivalent to 12 feet. Number two, the amount of rice supplied by the authority to the workers was not sufficient for 15 days. The authority stopped providing ration to the workers. After some days, the agitators did not have any food and started eating wild roots and vegetables. Then Bhadreswar Gogoi, a well-to-do villager of Tingkhang, went to the nearby villages with some volunteers to collect rice for the starved tea garden workers. The Assamese people of the nearby villages donated benevolently. Enough rice was collected and those were distributed among the tea garden workers. It was happened on the eve of the independence of India. The then Congress President of Dibrugarh District Congress, Jivan Ram Phokon, asked to call off the strike, but the Congress volunteers did not listen to the President's call because they did not want to leave the strike in the middle without solving their problem. As a result, they had to come out of the Congress party and unfurl red flag, replacing the Congress flag. It was the beginning of a new struggle just before the independence of India. The renowned Congress worker who later joined Socialist Party, Shankar Barua too, visited the site to encourage the protesters. Congress minister in the government before independence, Vishnuram Medhi, also went to the spot and asked the agitators to call off the strike, but he failed. After 13 days, Labour Commissioner Nasser Ahmed discussed all those issues with the leaders and agreed to fulfill the demands of the tea garden workers. The authority also agreed to provide salary to the workers for the 13 days of strike. The problem of the Tiniali tea garden was solved peacefully on 14th August in 1947. But the cases remained against the leaders of the strike. Police were behind them. On 15th August 1947, the very day of India's independence, leader Nibaran Bora was arrested from his Dibrugarh residence as he reached home from the tea garden. Interestingly, all the 123 prisoners of the jail were freed as a gift of independence. But the only prisoner in the ward number 5, Bora, remained for 2 days in the jail. In the first day, he did not even have food and water, while the authority was distributing sweets among other prisoners who were freed on that day. Thus, a good Congress worker had to face punishment for raising voice for the interest of the tea garden community. Madan Sharma himself went to the then DC of Dibrugarh district, N.K. Rustamji, as police were behind him to arrest. But a huge crowd followed him in a procession for which the Deputy Commissioner did not dare to arrest him. It is really strange to notice why the intellectuals of Assam do not highlight suspects which show the role of local people supporting the tea tribes to acquire their rights. In fact, there should be some statues of the leaders in the tea gardens to commemorate the victory of their struggle. But in Assam, it is seen that all good things are forgotten willfully. That is why I have prepared this talk to show my respect to those selfless warriors fighting for the rights of the tea garden community.